Yeah,
Oh
I
my,
know if I have to read, picked out one thing. If I want to, if we get to that point or whatever, if I remember it, I can read a little bit of the characteristics of ACOAs if we get to
okay.
that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, welcome, 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 amigas, to Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast. We have a beautiful soul here with us. I'm so happy that you're going to get to know her here. Her name is Veronica Ramos Clark. And let me just briefly tell you a little bit about her. Veronica studied chemical dependency addiction at Governor State University in Illinois. She has a master's of health science in counseling and psychology. She graduated in 1996 and she has focused her career on psychology and addictionology, specializing in alcohol and drug abuse. She is the owner and founder of Fresh Start Counseling Services. She's also an author and graduate of Jack Canfield's Train the Trainer certificate program. And she is happily married. She's been married since 1994, five, I'm sorry. And she's just here with us on a Sunday, amigas, on a Sunday. This woman is a workaholic because I know she's been counseling her patients. And I am so happy and proud that she's here with us. Thank you so much, Veronica, for being here. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I feel honored to have me on your podcast. This is my very first podcast.
Ah, I love it. Even better. I hope it's the best one. Well, my love, thank you so much. Like I said, I mean, you've got a long history of things that you've done. And like I do with all of my amigas out there, I always want them to say, um, a brief history about their life because obviously who you are today wasn't the person you were born, right? I mean, we're
Right.
born, we have a family, and you're Latina. So let's talk about that. Like, how was your family? Are you a daughter of X amount of siblings, or you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
amigas want to know
Okay.
your journey.
Absolutely. So yeah, I come from a, I think, typical huge Hispanic family.
Mhm.
My father was actually married twice. First to his first wife, he had 5 boys and a girl. And interestingly enough, he married a woman that was 10 years his junior. And then he married my mom. And when he married my mom, after he got divorced from the first wife, he um, he married somebody that was 20 years his junior. So my mom was 19 and he was 39 when they got married. And he already had 5 boys and had adopted a girl from her first marriage. So it with my mom and dad, there was 11 children altogether. The 6 boys and 5 girls. So altogether there was 17 of us.
Wow. Well, you know what? Not too strange for a Latino family,
No,
right?
no,
Not
not
at
at
all.
all.
Not at all. But I think when I know from my experience and in my family is that when they come to the United States, the numbers start decreasing, right? I don't know if it's because of financial means to support
Uh-huh.
other people, right? Because I know at least in for what I recall my family saying, in Mexico, I mean, obviously you at that time they didn't have TVs. So what were they doing in the free time, right? They had more
Absolutely.
more personal time. So kudos to them. But here in this country to have that many kids, I mean, how did they do it? How did they do it?
Very unusual. Well, my father was a workaholic. He was domestically violent, alcoholic, and a workaholic. Thank goodness, because he had 2 families to support. And yeah, we just made it. My mother would buy a big bag of rice and a big bag of beans, and that would pretty much stretch itself. And I remember we would have tacos, but our tacos were just like a little bit of ground beef, layered there, like a piece-sized grains of bits of. I remember I'd go to people's houses and I would see them like stuffing tacos like full of meat. And I'd be like, oh my God, look at how huge those tacos are. Oh my God. I didn't
Well,
realize, when you don't know that you're poor,
mhm.
then it's okay.
Right, right, right. Yeah, you don't know. What you don't
Yeah.
know, you don't know, of course, obviously, right? So, you mentioned a little bit about domestic violence and he's your workaholic and an alcoholic. And I know I really want to get into that.
Okay.
But before we get into that, I wanted to know a little bit more about your childhood, your experiences in life, and what that helped in shaping you in your career.
Okay. Well, basically, I had to be in survival mode because a lot of things that happen to adult children of alcoholics is we develop characteristics, and we basically have to adapt certain roles. And if you want me to, let me read real quickly about some of the characteristics and roles of adult children of alcoholics. Um, an adult child of an alcoholic is an acronym. ACOA is what we call ourselves. And the firstborns usually are the heroes in the family. Uh, they are very smart, responsible, straight A students. They always stand out for uh, as superstars in the family. And they serve like as second parents in a dysfunctional family. So that was my older sister. She was very much like a small parent in the home, because there was a lot of dysfunction going on. So their strong characteristics is they like to be right, and they fear, but they also fear very much being wrong. There's the lost child. So there's the hero, the lost child. There's the placater, the scapegoat, and the mascot. The lost child usually is somewhere in the middle of the birth order. They tend to be the ones that are forgotten when naming off the kids. The lost child is quiet and has learned to blend into the woodwork. They struggle with their feelings. They rarely ask for help, and they don't speak up for themselves. The placater. The placater usually is in the middle, or uh, somewhere usually in the middle, and avoids confrontation at all costs. They are natural born counselors. They like peace in the family. They like to negotiate. They're perfect salespeople. um, they are fearful of drama, and they will often make decisions based on fear rather than what is best for them. The scapegoat. The scapegoat usually is the last or second to the last born in the family. And this child is often in trouble. If something is missing or broken in the house, you can pretty much depend, it was probably this person, it was probably this scapegoat that did it. They are the most often in trouble and usually the first person to seek treatment for alcohol or drug abuse problems. They're considered like the black sheep of the family. And then lastly, the mascot. The mascot is usually the baby in the family. They have great comedic timings. They have no problem, dating boys or girls, because they're very popular in school, and they usually don't make the best choices with mates if they come from dysfunction. And the mascot is a great relief in the family of a dysfunctional family because it usually takes away the tension that's going on in the family. So for me, in these, just to describe what I was as a child, and that's why I gave you these roles, I was a combination of um, a loner child, a lost child in the family, and I was a placater. So it explains why I became a counselor. And I always felt, even though I was in a huge family, that I was a loner. I was very much a loner, and I took to reading books a lot. And luckily, I liked self-development books because I knew I had low self-esteem. It's like nobody had to tell me that. I already knew that I could not talk up for myself, because what happens is when you're always, about the flight or fight mode, right? When you're
Yeah.
scared, we have like four core emotions which are mad, sad, glad, and scared. So, when you're always startled and you're always scared growing up because you don't know when the shoe's going to drop, when your father's going to like lose it or something, you kind of stay into a survival mode. And mine was to be a placater, to always be what they call fawn now. Um, there's fight, or fawn, and I was a fawn. I was basically somebody who was always serving, always helping. I always liked to be liked. I was a people pleaser. So I just used that as a survival mode, and it serves you in a lot of purposes as an adult, but then it can also be the biggest problem that you have, because you can overdo it with being over generous, over pleasing, and you just wear yourself thin.
I
So
can imagine that, like just always constantly serving, 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 supporting, supporting, serving, and it's like you're left like by yourself, alone, a loner, as you had mentioned, and who's going to serve you? Who's going to support you? And
right.
especially when you were a kid, like how did you find a way to get out of that mindset of being loner and always supporting and always serving? I know you're such a great supporter, but I know that as a professional, you know the signs, so you learn how to get out of that, right? So
Hmm.
that
Right.
you're not the statistic, the what a patient, if you will. Now
Right.
you're the counselor.
Hmm.
So I'm always curious, like, how did you manage to get, try to get out of that zone, out of that?
That's honestly, Jackie, that's why I love so much what I do, because when my clients come to me, I really love to do a deep dive into their childhood, because that's when once I discover what kind of person they were, and we try a lot of techniques to get them to that place, because a lot of them don't want to go back, but
Right.
that's where you heal. When you know yourself, you can heal yourself. So I knew I was a loner. So what does a loner have to do? They have to do the opposite in order
Mhm.
to expand and grow. So I knew I had to be in social networks. I knew I had to join groups. I knew I had to get myself out there. Because my thing was to be an introvert and to be by myself in my room reading a book, where I had to do the opposite. So I have learned to be social. I have learned to be in more social groups, and connecting and trying to bond with others and having that type of connection, because as a child I did the opposite. So
Yeah,
that was definitely one of them.
I could totally tell in terms of, because you're part of this group that I'm so happy and honored to have been a part of Fire and Soul, which we mutually share this admiration and love for this group. It's a course that we took, and I mean, for me, it's been a game changer because I get to meet people like Veronica and how they handle their shit and their stresses, and how they have been so supportive. Veronica has definitely been a supportive person in this course, and it's interesting when she's telling us right now that she had to do the opposite, but you wouldn't know that through this course. I would never have known that she was a loner, that she was the quiet one, that she was the what did you call it, fawn, the
Yeah.
fawn.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you would never know that because she is very social and
Yeah.
supportive, but not in the sense that it's extreme.
Mhm.
And it's beautiful. I mean, I'm glad to have known her through these mediums. Now, here's the thing. You said something about that you go with your clients and you take a deep dive into their childhood. And I mean, if you allow me, can we take a little bit of a deep dive into your childhood?
Mhm.
Because we're talking about domestic violence, and that you've been a survivor of it through your family, and your
Right.
father has been an alcoholic. So can you share with us a moment where you knew, like, okay, this is a serious problem? Like maybe a circumstance where you saw with your eyes and witness that this was huge and that this was not normal. It's not normal to be in this
Right.
situation as a child.
I think one time that I can recall, I was outside playing with my friends, and my father came out. He was completely naked. So I was like, "Well, that's traumatizing." So I
No
knew
way.
that wasn't normal. So I was like, okay, I was like, Dad, go inside, or him, coming in, from school, and then just seeing, him laid out, naked, sleeping on the couch, because he was an alcoholic, and he didn't realize, that he was exposing himself, obviously, but that was traumatizing, and that was like, this isn't normal. And as a kid, and I think it added to the fact that I was antisocial as a child, because I was afraid to bring a friend home.
Yeah.
God knows what they would see. My father either losing his temper, or exposing himself or doing something inappropriate or fall down drunk. So that wasn't something that I was ashamed of that. So I didn't bring people around to my house. So yeah,
Wow.
obviously I knew something like as an adult, I could name all of it now, but as a child, it was just kind of like, instinctual. Don't bring, it's probably not a good idea to bring a friend to my house.
No, no, no kidding, right? And where was your mom and your siblings? Would they also see this?
I think as an adult child of an alcoholic, we kind of and I don't know if you've ever heard of an elephant in the room.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
we would walk around the big elephant in the room. We all lived in the same house, but we never talked about the problem. Never talked about the problem. Like, dad's an alcoholic, or mom's codependent, and she just, kind of goes with whatever. My mom was 20 years younger than him.
Right, right.
So she pretty much was afraid of him, just like we were. We were all afraid of our dad. So when you do things based on fear, you're very conforming to whatever the thing that's going on. Whoever's in power and control. And my dad was, if you know about domestic violence,
Yeah.
there was a lot of power and control going on. And my mother just pretty much went along with everything. I mean, she tried to protect us. I mean, she would get in front of my dad when he would try to hit us, so she was protective in that way. But as far for like formal education on anything, or my mom had a very low self-esteem too. And so, but luckily, by the grace of God, and I apologize to anybody that this might offend, but my father died when I was 17, and I felt a great sense of relief. My mother went into clinical depression at that time, and it was kind of like all of our kids. We were like prisoners in an asylum, but my mother went upstairs, and she was in her room all the time. So us prisoners were now running the asylum. We pretty much did
Oh my
whatever the heck we
God.
wanted.
Oh my God.
One in the streets doing it. My brother joined a gang. I quit school. I started ditching. And what's odd about me, Jackie, is I would ditch school, and guess where I would go?
Okay, let me guess, because I now know who you are. You went to the library.
I certainly did.
I knew it. I knew it. Of course. Smarty
Yeah,
pants.
absolutely. Absolutely. I was addicted to self-help books at 17 years of age. And I was just like, oh my God, I love this. And I would just, anything I was interested in, I was just picking it out at the library and ditching school to read books. It was silly, but true.
I mean, if I were like you, I mean, I'm sure I would be the same way, because I mean, I enjoyed going to school. I love learning, and so that would not seem strange or odd to ditch school to go to a library. And nowadays, I mean, I don't know if these kids have a library because everything's so digital, right? I mean, oh my God, we're losing
Absolutely.
touch with all those things, unfortunately. But okay, so here it's like you said, it was like an asylum. You guys were the people that were running the asylum house. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like,
Yeah.
take me through a typical day of that, because that, I mean, no control
Honestly,
whatsoever.
honestly, a lot of several of my brothers and sisters had already moved out, the older ones.
Okay.
So I moved out probably when I was about 18. So I don't even recall a lot of what happened to my younger brothers and sisters. I know that I got a job. Um, I got a job working at a factory to try to help out until I turned 18. And then I moved in with a friend. So I was only there a year longer. So my brothers and sisters, I think they suffered, we all suffered from the dysfunction that went on. Most of my family members are alcoholics or addicts, unfortunately, because that's what they saw. A lot of them have not received a formal education, college, graduate school like I have. A lot of us were hurt by that. I actually ended up getting a GED, but I had a horrible pattern of picking men that were incredibly dysfunctional. They were domestically violent, they were addicts or alcoholics. And I was with a guy that was like a womanizer, marijuana smoker, and he physically beat me one time, and he choked me almost to death, and I finally left him. And luckily, during the same time, I had gotten my GED. I learned to be a reservation agent. I went through a training to be a reservation agent for Midway Airlines, and then they went under. But everything has been a blessing to me. Everything that has happened to me in my life has been the biggest blessing, because I have firsthand knowledge of what it is like to have severe abuse, deal with alcoholisms, and how it ravishes the family. And when I lost my job at Midway Airlines, it gave me the opportunity to go to college, because they put us through a career track thing that was basically almost for free. And I learned I needed to be in the helping profession. And then I wanted to be a therapist, a mental health therapist. But while I was taking one of my electives, my 101 electives, they went through addictionology, which is a study of psychology, addictionology, and sociology. So I was like, oh my God, this is addictions, and it deals with the mental health, and it deals with the sociology of it and everything. I'm like, I was completely engulfed in it. I was like, this is me. I have to do this. And this is how I can help people and tell them it's not okay. What's going on is not okay. And I can help people. So I knew that was my purpose. I knew that that's why it was here, but why God placed me here. It placed me here to try to help others learn, the way you grew up is not right, but what you can do with your life this going forward is totally under your control. Just recognize yourself, see what you picked up that's not good, and flip that over to be something excellent for other people, to help other people in life.
Oh my God, wow, what a change. From being an asylee, for better, for worse, right? To who you are right now. And you have a company built on this. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit more about your company and what your focus is there, and what do you do, and how many clients do you see? And do you see patients also through the court system? Because I know as an attorney here in the state of California, like I've done so many family law cases that we sometimes have to deal with psychologists and go through child custody evaluations, and they're in the court system. So
Yes.
that's the kind of stuff that you do in your company as well?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I had a dream in when I was when I was getting my degree. I was like, I really want to open up my own agency. And what I did to let these fellow entrepreneurs know is I asked somebody that had their company. I said, can I, be an apprentice for them? They had first said they were going to pay me for the apprenticeship, but when I went in there, they said they couldn't. But I figured I needed to get my certification. I needed to get my licensure. And I told them, okay, well, if you show me how to be my own business owner, if you show me the ropes, I will just go ahead and work for you for free. So I did that for over a year, learning all the ropes. It was hard because, throughout it, he would say, I'm going to pay you, I'm going to pay you, because it was hard work. I ended up getting the keys to the place. I really learned everything about it. And it was a blessing to me. So I started off, I wanted to, I mapped out where I wanted to work at, what city I wanted to work at. I knew I didn't have any money for anything, to start a business, but I started renting the back of where I really wanted to be, because I visualized where I wanted to be. I wanted to be on Calumet Avenue. I knew that that was the busiest street in this big city. And I told myself, I visualized myself there, but I knew I couldn't afford it. It didn't make any sense, Jackie. But I went to this one guy and he said, I have this place in the back. And I told my husband, I said, he says, if, I can get somebody to repair, blah, blah, blah. And my husband was a carpenter. So he repaired all the different things.
Yeah.
It helped out, So I only paid
the synchronicity
$100 a
there.
month. Yeah. So I was a secretary. I was the counselor, I was the accountant, I was everything. And so one of the most terrifying things to me was my self-esteem, my self-confidence. So
Mhm.
I had to build that up, and I used affirmations to build up, I am smart, I am confident, I can do this. And I had to go in and introduce myself to the courts and stuff like that. And I would give free speeches about addictionology and how it affects the family and domestic violence and such. And that's how I would advertise myself. But every time I would go to try to speak, I was just terrified. So I would sit like before a meeting, before a judge, because I don't know what it was about Judge Jack. The minute I got in front of a judge, I just knew I did something wrong. I don't know why I felt so guilty. I was like, there must be something I did wrong. I'm feeling so guilty in front of this judge. I was terrified, but I would like pep myself up, like,
Yeah.
okay, if fear the fear and do it anyway. Fear the fear and do it anyway. You got this, girl. I'd be like cheerleading myself before I would go and
Yes.
give a speech.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
what Tony Robbins does now. He psychs himself up. Girl, I knew about that before. I just did it naturally.
You're like, I knew about that before Tony Robbins was Tony Robbins. Yeah. No, and you know what? I mean, because you spend so many days at the library learning about personal development. You
Yes.
already knew
Yes.
that these mantras, these affirmations
Yep.
work. They
Yes.
work, you know,
Absolutely.
and amigas out there, if you haven't done a certain class of personal development, you are missing out. Number one, you're missing out.
Hmm.
Two, it is critical for your development and for your growth, truly. And I'm so happy, Veronica, that you're talking about it because it's so important. I don't think Latinos, I mean, I'm going to make a general statement here, but I do have to say, when I go to the Tony Robbins events, even here in LA, California, I mean, you would think that the majority would be Latinos in the stadium. No,
Wow.
no, not at all. So I think that more Latinas, because we're talking about amigas here, one way to handle their shit is to actually dive deep in personal development. Like this is, I mean, amazing. Thank you so much, Veronica, for reminding us that affirmations are important. Visualization is important. And you visualizing that you were going to be near that main road
Yeah.
and you made it happen,
Yes.
right?
And then a year and a half later, I bought a prime spot near the corner because I wanted a corner spot, but I got the spot next, which was just as good. Because you don't know how many times that corner spot has been hit or swept. So probably
Well,
not a
maybe
good
it's
thing for me to be
maybe,
there.
yeah,
God has his
exactly.
way of looking out for me, I'm telling you.
That's right. That's right. Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, I was able to purchase a building there. And then I went on, somebody called me from 2 counties over and said, we need the Spanish speaking, people out here. We've got Spanish speaking people. So I went ahead. I said, well, if you can guarantee me so many clients per month, I'll go out there. So I went out there and I opened up a second location. And then I opened up a third location. 3 years later, I opened up a third location. And now during COVID, I opened up a fourth location.
Amen. Mic drop to that. This is right. Yes, Veronica. I mean, she is a badass Latina. She's handling her shit because she's opening up even when people are losing their jobs and people are losing their companies and businesses. But no, not Veronica. Thank you so much for saying that because I think a lot of amigas out there need to understand that if things are happening out there and they look ugly and they look like struggle, it's all in you to make a change, right? I mean, because
Right.
things are happening for us, never to us. And when we have that mindset of things that are happening for us, you're always looking for the good. You're always
Right.
looking for the upside. And you're like, okay, I'm going to get another place in this
Yeah.
year of the pandemic. Well,
Yeah.
felicidades, amiga. This is amazing, beautiful. Now, okay, so you have all these places, and I wanted to get a little bit back into what's it called? Addiction and the signs of addiction. Because I
Mhm.
think, one of the things I read up today I was reading on statistics about Latinos and alcohol, and I
Mhm.
read that Hispanics who choose to drink are more likely to consume higher volumes of alcohol than non-Hispanics do. So I'm
Mhm.
starting to think, I'm like, okay, homegirl here likes to party, likes to go out. Well,
Mhm.
not as much as before, but I like to drink. And so I'm thinking, wait a minute, is there an addiction problem here if I if I drink a certain amount of alcohol? Like what constitutes an addiction?
Well, it has to affect the major areas of your life.
Okay.
So, and yes, culturally, we're more prone to being like Irish too. They're culturally more prone to being alcoholics because so much of our culture is enwrapped with dance and celebration that includes alcohol in it. So yeah, we could be more prone to it. And not only that, if we come from like we're third, as far as I know, third, generation of being alcoholics, because my grandfather on my mother's side was an alcoholic, my grandmother on, so it's kind of generational as well. Uh, but in terms of, let me go back to what you were saying about, what was I starting to say about that? I think I forgot now.
No, no, well, addiction and the signs
Oh, the
and
signs, the
yeah.
major, the major signs are, is it affecting your, do you have financial problems with it?
Oh,
Okay, due
okay.
to DUIs, or you're spending too much money on it. So like every day you're buying a 12 pack or a pint and stuff like that. Did you get a DUI and now you have to pay 5 grand for a lawyer, and you're in the criminal justice system. So you're looking at, socially, is it affecting you socially when you go out to a party and you're getting fall down drunk, and now everybody socially at a party is taking a look at that. How is it affecting your family? Are your family deeply concerned about you? Are they looking at you like, oh, uh, Freddie's gonna drink tonight, look out for Juan, he's on the second, on the second bottle, so people know usually before the alcoholic does. So our environments will tell us usually if you're calling off on Mondays, or and so you're working that weekend drunk binge and stuff and not coming in, so it's affecting your job now.
Mm.
Is it affecting your relationship? Is your wife threatening divorce because of this? Is your health affected? Are you having to go to the doctor, and the doctor's saying, looks like you got a little sign of cirrhosis here. Have you been drinking a
Wow.
lot? So uh, your your environment and your body will tell you, and your family, you'll start to hear, what's going on. But it's screaming at you before your people are ready, because the first thing a lot of times we'll see when they come in is denial. I
Mm.
don't have a drinking problem. My friend drinks more than I do. Yeah, your friend's an alcoholic too, honey. That's why you're hanging with them. Birds of a feather flock together.
Birds of a feather flock together. Absolutely. Totally get that. I had an uncle, he passed away a long time ago when I was a kid, of cirrhosis of the liver. And everyone said, oh no, he drinks himself every day with booze. And he became violent. I don't know what came first, the chicken or
Right,
the egg. Like,
right, right.
because, are you just a violent person and then you cope with alcohol and then you do the burst? I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
comes
Usually
first?
the violence is there, the anger is there, but alcohol is a lubricant. It's going to relax you. It's going to let your inhibitions go. So sometimes things that are there, like people say, "Oh, I know who you really are when you're angry, or how you really feel about me when you're drunk," because it's like truth serum. So
Yeah.
it does kind of,
They say the drunk never lies. I grew up always hearing that a drunk never lies because they just, it is truth serum. Just
mhm,
comes out like a
yeah,
floodgate, right?
yeah.
Oh, this is like super interesting. It's environment and family will let you know that you have a problem. You have a
Hmm.
problem.
And your
And
health, your body. Mhm.
oh, your body. Yes, yes, I can imagine. Oh, I can certainly see that. Wow, this is so many amazing notes to take. Like, amigas out there, you know, um, believe me, I mean, God, during college, eesh, and even like during law school, like, oh my God, I go back and I'm like, Jesus
Well,
Christ.
college is different too, Jackie, because a lot of times I could diagnose somebody if they're like in the third year of college, probably as an alcoholic. But once they move out of that stage and they're becoming, independent, and they have a family and they're stabilizing and stuff like that, then, they start to really stabilize. Some people in college is where they started the roots of alcoholism. So people have to really be careful in college. But a lot of them, it's just a transitional period, and it's just kind of like situational alcoholism in a sense. Because like I said, I could diagnose a lot of kids. I'm like, nah, you know what? You're still a kid. I can't really give you that diagnosis because you may grow out of this. And thank God most people do.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, that's good to know.
Yes. 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 It is very good to know.
So tell me, Veronica, tell us, amigas. Okay. So I know you've written books, and can you talk about the latest book that is supposed to, I think it's going to get published, or it's coming out soon.
Yes. On April 1st, my book it's called Blooming in the Shadows: How to Thrive as an Adult Child of an Alcoholic, by Veronica Ramos Clark. And then the second book is the one that's written with, I believe, like 15 authors. And that one is called The Year the World Paused: Stories of Inspiration and Transformation.
Wow. So you got 2 books coming.
Yeah, 2 books coming out within a couple months of each other. Correct.
And,
yeah.
And where can we find these books?
You could probably, they'll both be on Amazon. But if after like April 1st, you could probably go to Fresh Start Counseling Services, freshstartcounseling.org. And there's probably going to be a link on there for it, but it will be on Amazon. They will be on Amazon. Yeah.
Oh, great. Thank you. Because amigas, you need to learn more about Veronica, because she is a wealth of information, and she's got personal experience to as proof of that she's been out of that circle of addiction and violence around her, that she's just a beautiful soul who decided that, nope, this is not my life. I'm going to get over this situation, and the introvert is no longer the introvert, because she's placed herself in these beautiful social settings where she gets to meet people. So she's no longer a statistic. So thank you so much for that, Veronica. And I know that you guys will going to put it in the show notes so that they can turn around and go and purchase your book when it comes out. So Veronica, before I let you go, I always ask my guests, what are 1 or 2 tips on how amigas can handle their shit?
Well, I've got 5 tips for you. And then I was hoping that if anybody ever wants to get a hold of me at freshstartcounseling.org to set up an appointment, I'm going to just tell you my prices. It's $140 for a biopsychosocial assessment, which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours, but we really get into your shit. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. So be ready if you're coming. And then it's $80 a session after that. So I'm upfront about my prices. I'm just gonna tell people. So number 1 tip, I've got 5 of them here. Know what you want. Write it out. List out what you want. And then ask yourself if there's a need for it out there. Does the world need this? And if it does, totally go for it. Totally go for it. At least get 1 person to back you, to support you, because you need that support. At least 1 person who believes in you. Means, like, for me, it was my husband. He was just like, you want to open a business? What? Okay, what do you need? Yeah. Well, I need you to build a wall right here, because this dude gave me $100. So,
yes.
Okay, you got it.
Yes, girl. Yes.
So number 2 is study everything you can get a hand on of your craft, of whatever. If you're making shoes, study everything about shoes, and keep on learning and keep on sharpening your tools. Don't ever stop learning. Because if it's something of interest to you, you should probably be fascinated and passionate about it anyway. Number 3, trust your gut. Your gut is always going to tell you what is going on there. So, for me, and when I was doing business, and something they said or whatever didn't sync right with me, people tell you who they are very quickly. Pay attention, and then go the other direction if you're not feeling it. Because you'll feel it. For me, sometimes I feel it in my belly, like, oh, that didn't sit well with me. So listen to your body, listen to your mind, really sit with yourself before you make any kind of big decision. Number 4, um, as far as being nice to everybody. You'll never know who is. And talking about attorneys, there was a woman that I'm nice to everybody, guys. I am nice to everybody. That's just my trademark. It came easily. It's just who I am.
Yes, she
But
is.
if it's not you, if it's not you, fake it till you make it. Okay, so um, you I was nice to the janitors, so every year I make tamales for whoever, is referring to Fresh Start. If they refer to me, I'll make them tamales and I'll take them. It's a thing that I love to do. And it's culturally what we do for, when we're showing people that we love them. So I would always take it to an attorney that was referring to me, but then I would take it to the secretary. Well, that secretary ended up becoming an attorney and then becoming a judge. So you never know where you're going to get your big sponsors and referrals, and so be nice to everybody, not because of gain. It's karma, and it all comes back to, and that's my last thing is karma. Think about karma and the vibes that you're putting out there. Always wish everybody the best, no matter if you don't like them. Wish them the best even twice further. You want to love on those people especially, because they're healing you. Whenever you forgive, you are actually making yourself stronger, and you're attracting more wealth and more abundance into your life. I promise you that. I promise you that.
Oh my God. Amen to that. Amen. Vibes. Always wish the best. They always say, people say like, oh, have your enemies close. No, have your friends close, but have your enemies closer, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's that concept of like, okay, wish them the best, and it's so true. It's difficult for some individuals to wish them the best, but it's important for karmatic. Is that a word? Karmatic? Is it karmatic or
Well, you just
karmic?
made it, girl. Let's put it in the dictionary right now. That sounds good to
we're,
me.
we're gonna put it in the Webster's dictionary. But it's true. I mean, it's just like it's almost like a energetic exchange.
I love that word, karmatic. I'm going to use that now.
Karmatic. Karmatic. I'm like, is that a word? Is that, because in true fashion, Jackie fashion, I'm always in like making up words.
It's good.
So it's just like it's an energy exchange. I mean, just because this person dislikes you, or you've been told that person is talking smack about you, okay, if the person is, well, oh well, that's that person's opinion, and that has nothing to do with me. But what is to do with me is how I am with that person, and how I choose to react with that person. And if I choose to be kind, then that is just going to circle. It's going to circle, right? It's going to bounce off.
Yeah, it's about me. It's about me loving me beyond anything.
Yeah.
If somebody's choosing to be negative, I'm not taking that on. I'm taking on being positive towards them and being loving towards them. And I can't even count as many times as people have shown me a negative face. And then my friends are like, why are you being so much nicer to them? And why did you drop off tamales to them and peanuts and this kind of thing, and send them a Christmas card or whatever? They're not doing business with you, blah, blah, blah. But next thing you know, that person is letting another person know, hey, Veronica, she's a kind person, and we don't even do business with her. And this stuff comes back to you guys. It comes back to you.
Twofold, threefold, fourth. I mean, so many times over, so many times over. Completely agree with you. And thank you so much for sharing your 5 tips for these amigas that are here to learn their shit. I love them. And like I was telling Veronica, in all the episodes that I've done, every amiga has a different way of handling their shit, and it's always different. And I love it, because there's not one set of rule to handle it, right?
Yeah.
It could be as many things. It's like when you read a book, not every book is the same.
Right.
And that's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing.
That is a
That's
beautiful thing.
that's what the world goes round. It goes
Yeah.
round. Yeah. Thank you so much, Amiga, for being
Thank
here
you.
with me on Amiga Handle Your Shit podcast on a Sunday. Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you.
rest of the evening because I know it's nighttime over where you are, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Okay. Well, thank you, my love. Thank you
I
so
love you
much.
so much, Jackie.
I
You're
love you.
so awesome. You're so
Oh,
amazing.
thank
Yeah,
you.
you are a superstar.
Ah, hello. So are you. Love you, love you, love you.
I love you too.